Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. A top stories in the news tonight. CHAWAMA lawmaker complains over untimely distribution of CDF as residents demand the construction of a mortuary. Harry Calabar raises concerns over human rights violations. Motorists demand accountability on the utilization of toll fee funds. In international news, climate crisis threatens the right to food, observes the United Nations. And in sports news, Moses Sichone names final COSAFA squad.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
On Monday, 3rd July 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guests, Mr. Brebna Changala, political activist.
We are not swimming ashore. If we are not careful, we might sink.
And Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
So it's a serious matter of worry.
As they discuss concerns of human rights in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello again, another news in detail. The National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, NWASCO, says the introduction of a specific electricity tariff on water is a step in the right direction, but that it mostly benefits small utilities. Analyzing the prospects of the new water tariffs, NWASCO Chief Inspector Peter Mutale points out that big utilities such as the Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company would not see the benefits. He, however, says it is positive that now there is a specific tariff and that discussions will continue to find ways of cushioning water utilities and provide services for a public good. Here's a report.
Almost a man dying kunota kupata bakweta menshi. Nififire so tulipaka tanki hapa menshi tuleta pa 1 kwacha.
With rapid urbanization throughout the developing world, water and sanitation utilities are facing increasing pressures to provide reliable safe drinking water and sanitation management services. However, these are highly energy-intensive activities. The International Energy Agency has estimated that electricity consumption of the water sector worldwide was 4% of the total global electricity consumption as of 2016. And in Zambia, energy is among major costs for utilities. During our visit to the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company water installations in the year 2022 in Kafue district, we were made aware that energy is among the major costs draining the coffers.
Very high voltage power that we have to, because one pump to run it takes a lot of power. It takes a lot of power, and therefore our ZESCO bill is extremely high because of this situation.
To partly address the problem, recently the Energy Regulation Board (ERB) announced the introduction of a specific tariff for the water sector.
Special attention has been paid to the low-income households, small commercial operations, social services, and water utilities.
And National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, NWASCO Chief Inspector Peter Mutale says the introduction of a specific water tariff is a step in the right direction, but that it mostly benefits small utilities.
And ZESCO have responded to our request. which is a very good and a positive thing for us, because we have our own tariff as a sector, which you can easily negotiate. When you are bundled in other categories like maximum demand, social and commercial, it was very difficult to negotiate a tariff because you are negotiating for everyone. So now, this time they can negotiate on their own. Now, with the tariff that has come, it's a rising block tariff. It has got about 4 bands. Band 1, Band 2, Band 3, up to Band 4. So the higher you consume, the more you pay.
Analyzing the prospects of the new water tariffs, Mr. Mutale says engagements will continue to find ways on how utilities can be cushioned.
In trying to propose, all the commercial utilities sat and made a proposal that the 3rd and the 4th band be reduced, so that all the CEOs could benefit, the bigger and the small ones. But it's something that ERB did not consider, so they have gone ahead with the same proposal. But just to mention to you, the benefit is there for the smaller ones, but the bigger ones, we have seen an increase, like the first year, up to about 25%, which, as I say, better than the 2021, which went to about 143%. So I think for us that's the issue, but we continue engaging ZESCO and ERB because we know the nature of the business that commercial utilities are involved in.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Residents of Lusaka's CHAWAMA township are appealing to the government to construct a mortuary at CHAWAMA Level 1 Hospital. Alice Impeta tells Camnet News that residents have been forced to pay over 400 kwacha in order to transfer the remains of their loved ones to the University Teaching Hospital, UTH. The residents explained that it has been almost over 2 years that the hospital has been without a mortuary. Meanwhile, CHAWAMA Area Member of Parliament Tasila Lungu says she is not in charge of releasing funds as she made the recommendation a long time ago. Here's a report.
Mortuaries are a vital part of every society. However, residents of CHAWAMA and Lusaka have spent over 2 years without the existence of a mortuary at CHAWAMA Level 1 Hospital. The residents tell this journalist that they are wondering what the authorities think of their livelihood. They explain that it is becoming unbearable to transport their deceased loved ones from the Level 1 hospital to the University Teaching Hospital, UTH. Juma Piri explains that transferring the remains of their loved ones is now fetching between 400 kwacha and more, which they explain is challenging.
Kuna kwa tu problem yantili nayo, Level 1 yatu iribe mochari. So, romuntu amuadi idati mapezeka na problem yopereka ku UTH. So tipempa ba area member of parliament maybe wangatitandize pa ndrama za veneza ntiona wango ikirako being CDF kututiambirie tupange nani mochari naona ingatitandize cha ndrama because tikangana ma constituencies mwina ngomu icha ndrama yatandiza abantu bambire maningi but kuno kwatu kuyambira by the way they go sitaonepo vane vichitika parija CDF man tini muzuva tilipira ma 400 ngati ni usiku inkala more than that
mochari ni kulibe bantu tukafa fwe bantu momo batuza go to chani ku UTH nje problem chabe ilipo fwe chikuru chabe ni chamene tupempa hospital ili chabe bwino manje tufuna mochari ukakamba tindrama zapeza tindrama ulibe yokamba tiendani tengani bubode muipeleke ku UTH.
Very disappointed that the mortuary here in CHAWAMA, but personal Level 1 we accept, thank you, but disappointing, no mortuary. Up to this time, nothing. So we are expecting to wazati wangate open even a single one each day, or no problem.
Meanwhile, Area Member of Parliament Tasila Lungu says recommendations for the construction of the said mortuary were a long time made. The MP says releasing funds is not her duty and called on the residents to visit the constituency office for more information on the said matter.
Not the ones who actually implement. We sit on those committees, we make recommendations. That's the only job that you have as an MP, is to make recommendations on what needs to be done. So from my part, and also my councillors and whoever else is on that committee, we've made recommendations. But it hasn't happened yet. And I think what I would like to tell the residents of CHAWAMA is that even for 2023, the money has not been released. So if the money hasn't been released, it's not the MP that releases money. What is the MP supposed to do? We push and we go to the council every other day. In fact, if any residents have any issues at all, or they have any questions at all on what they think needs to happen in the constituency or what they're not seeing, the office is available. All this information that I'm telling you now is in my office. You can follow up on any single project that you would want to follow up on.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Some public transport vehicle drivers are demanding to know where toll gate fees are being channeled, alleging that most roads are dilapidated. One of the drivers over Monday wonders to Camnet News why most roads are not maintained despite the mandatory payment of toll fees. Meanwhile, National Road Fund Agency NRFA Public Relations Manager Alphonsius Hamachila says the agency has a backlog of maintenance works whose payments have not been yet made.
Implemented to help recoup the cost of road construction and maintenance is the existence of toll gates at various points in the country. Sunday, 2nd July 2023, the National Road Fund Agency announced that it has so far collected 1.1 billion kwacha from toll fees from 38 toll gates during the period January to May 2023. While this is the case, some public service transport drivers whose service route is Southern Province have questioned the logic behind them paying toll fees when roads in most parts of the country are dilapidated. The drivers are calling on the National Road Fund Agency to utilize the money charged as toll gate fees to construct and maintain roads. They argue that it is baseless to continue being charged money for toll gates when roads still have potholes, which they explain that is now leading to road traffic accidents.
Nimadabwa timalipira ma toll gate every day monga seti mapale ma public vehicles ma PSV drivers. Lord we pay toll gate every day, and it is what ndrama zeti malipira pa toll gate nizopangisa malodi. So kumapezeka ti choka che muri government inachokai ma toll gate pay anayamba load yeti naona banapanga kuti tiona tezona ndrama zeti malipira izi zisebenza stizoona kana zisebenza ku malodi bwanji siku Southern Province kweka chapi mungayanga ni all angles of roads akalipo pangiwa kuli mapoti hozi. So chimanira bwisa tinanga government ndrama izi zisebenza zona ku malodi or bama zisebenza kuma other programs.
Mazabuka to Mon, the road is bad, but it's under construction.
Ndrama bama lipira ma 40 kwacha, ma 5 kwacha, but kwati manani ma road, okay, road yetu kwati ibana peka kuchoka che Murusaka kwenda ufika panani pa Mazabuka. Then kuchoka che pa Mazabuka pa hospital kweku. Kwenda ufika kumonze road ilipoa. Manya kanga tubatu tukanizira bwanji. Waona ka? So na magise never mankarapo. Sapeza tu muntu ali yako chani potuo, nevo chali ya potuo, then bakumana. So tuzopema che kandrama kama tumalezinga kajapanani pa matogeti ibatukaniziramo bapangako atisi machani mapotu achitabwanji ya chepako.
Meanwhile, the National Road Fund Agency says it is aware of the outcry but states that the money collected is not enough to channel to road maintenance because there is also a backlog of unpaid funds to contractors who undertook maintenance works.
All the major road activities that you see being undertaken are being financed using road tolling. But then there's been a huge backlog of maintenance in this country, road maintenance. This puts us at a disadvantage because what we have in the common basket of funds in the road fund is not enough to cover every section of the road in this country in terms of maintenance. That's why this government now is leveraging on the public-private partnership. Yes, we know that there are cries out there from different motorists and members of the public on the roads being in a bad state. We understand, and we are saying even the corrections that we have are not enough to finance road maintenance across the broad spectrum of the road network, given the backlog of road maintenance that we have.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Citizens First CF party has observed with grave concern the escalating abuse of the human rights of opposition political party leaders under the orders of those in power. CF President Harry Kalaba is appalled at the insensitive statement issued by the Minister of Home Affairs, Jack Mwimbo, justifying the brutality, including physical and mental torture, being perpetrated by police and other security wings against opposition political party leaders and members. Mr. Kalaba wondered why the country should be seen as if it is under a military junta. He says as CF, they are not against people who looted the economy being punished using the rule of law. He, however, says the law must be adhered to even as those perceived to have looted the country's resources are being followed. Mr. Kalaba wondered how the Inspector General of Police could be threatening the opposition leaders with such impunity for merely speaking for the people of Zambia.
We have taken note of the statement that has been made by the Inspector General of Police concerning usage of minimum force on us members of the opposition. I think that is unacceptable and it should never be allowed in a country like ours. The police brutality on us citizens must be condemned by all well-meaning citizens because human rights are being infringed upon. That is why the statement by the Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Jack Mwimbo, is very unfortunate. He should never have said that. Honorable Mwimbo must be seen to protect the interests of both the ruling and the opposition because he's not a minister only for the UPND. He is a minister for all of us in this country, and therefore it is incumbent upon him to make statements that will be all-encompassing. We will not be intimidated as members of the opposition, regardless of what they say. We are going to continue offering checks and balances that are going to put this government on its tentacles so they can do that which they should do. And we have got a job to do to ensure that this country moves in the manner it should move, as opposed to what we are seeing, where they want us to, all of us, to be seeing their presence. It will not happen, not from the CF. We will do that which is right.
The opposition Socialist Party has charged that lack of employment activities and poverty are contributing to the mushrooming of community gangs commonly known as junkies. Socialist Party member of the National Management Council, Crispin Chinda, is concerned that communities are no longer safe due to junkies. He says there is need to address the root causes of the problem in order to correctly prescribe the solution as opposed to dealing with the symptoms.
We have a lot of junks that are there, and some of junks have attacking our people, the breadwinners of the families, and this is a problem. And if we don't look at it now, it will be a huge problem for this country. This is because obviously the cost of living also, or the poverty levels in our homes, has also caused that. And also is the education itself. We can say education is free, but you see when you leave school, the school leavers, when they try to go back, they know into GC, it's not free. So education is not complete, it's not absolute free, because those that have left school, they cannot go back and get free education. So I think all these things must be looked at. We need to look at how do we bring back those young people that have left school but they don't have good results. How do we take them to school without charging them? So I think it's one of the aspects that we need to look at as government. So that is our encouragement also to government, that they should also look at that. They should also sensitize DC. They should go in the communities, sensitize most of our people the dangers of substance abuse and drug abuse. They should sensitize our people and enhance that sensitization. So we are worried on how we are living in our communities, because we are living with fear to be attacked by these same gangs coming from our young people we are calling junks.
The Opposition Patriotic Front, PF, has dismissed statements circulating on social media alleging that the party's Central Committee has expelled presidential hopeful Dr. Chitalu Chilufya. In an exclusive interview, PF Acting Media Director Edwin Lefwekelo has accused the United Party for National Development, UPND, of planning such propaganda with an intention of showing feelings of discord in the party. Meanwhile, according to a statement issued, Deputy Information and Publicity Chairperson Emmanuel Mwamba says since the 16th of October 2022, the party has not yet sat to readmit those who were dropped from the Central Committee, among them Dr. Chilufya. Dr. Chilufya was dropped from the Central Committee on grounds of non-participation in party activities, but he, however, appealed to be readmitted. Reverend Archbishop Albert Chama, co-chair of the African Council of Religious Leaders, Religions for Peace, has observed with concern that children's unguided exposure to social media is causing more harm than good. Archbishop Chama notes that despite progressive attributes to the digital space, it still exposes children to harmful content, hence corrupting their morals. He says social media is subjecting children to security risks such as sextortion and human trafficking. He has since recommended that government puts in place laws that protect children online.
Kids go to Facebook, they meet people they don't know. Kids are always browsing things and they're reading things which are not of their age in terms of assimilating certain information or material. We are concerned. And I'm sure all of us as faith leaders, it's something that we're talking about in our churches. You know, if you talk about human trafficking or children abuse or molestation, it starts from what they're reading, and there's something that things are normal when they're not normal. But we are saying, yes, technology has come, but we are free to be responsible. And then we're also going to be working together with other stakeholders, especially the governments, that they put in place laws that protect the children, especially using the social media. What sort of information can they allow? Like in Zambia through ZICTA, they should have a control. What sort of information they let go through the system, and what can say no, we can't, or what can say yes, can be read by children. So all that has to be worked on, but we believe that as faith leaders together, we can have a strong voice to tackle that problem.
Caritas Zambia has urged the United Party for National Development UPND administration to expedite the process of enacting the Public Order Act bill into law as per stakeholders' recommendations. In an interview with Camnet News, Caritas Zambia Democracy and Governance Officer Wilbrod Kangala has also called upon all parliamentarians to support the progressive bill once tabled in Parliament. He says government needs to urgently address this issue and announce to the public when the bill will be tabled in Parliament as soon as possible. He has observed that the Public Order Act has remained a source of concern, as over the years successive governments have evidently used it to disadvantage political opponents, especially during elections.
Successive governments have been pointing to the fact that once given that chance of governing this country, the first thing they are going to do once in office was to repeal and replace such a law. But we don't know the reason as to why every time when they come in, into office, they tend to forget and put the law aside and start using it against, the freedoms that we are supposed to be enjoying as enshrined in the Constitution, especially under Article 28, where the Bill of Rights or Part 3 of the Constitution. So this is a law that we don't need in this era, because it infringes on your rights, our rights, and at the same time, if you are not careful, continue using the law to misuse and abuse people's rights, especially those who seem to be opposing, certain policies coming from the government. So for us, we are expecting the Public Order Act bill to be tabled in Parliament, debated, go through the process of law development, first, second, and third reading, and up until the President assents to read. So we are calling upon this government, more especially His Excellency the President, that it's high time that as a country we moved forward and repealed this law and replace it with a law that will promote constitutionalism, a law that will promote, good governance, and a law that will respect the freedoms and liberties that we are supposed to enjoy as citizens of this country. So we need to repeal this law. It's archaic, and you cannot even like it to have such a law as a developing democracy.
This is Camnet Television News. We'll take a break. Join us for more news after the break.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962 642 490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
On Monday, 3rd July 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guests, Mr. Brebna Changala, political activist.
We are not swimming ashore. If we are not careful, we might sink.
And Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
So it's a serious matter of worry.
As they discuss concerns of human rights in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. The National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACEZ, has supported the strong warning by Secretary to the Treasury, Mr. Felix Nkulukusa, against costly, endless and unnecessary workshops being conducted in the Ministry of Education. NACEZ Media and Advocacy Director Peter Kalenga says the workshops being condemned are not being organized by head teachers, but by senior officers at national, provincial and district levels. He notes that the current wave of workshops in the ministry has distorted the good intentions of the government. He says it is regrettable that public funds that are meant to alleviate challenges that face schools, these critical public funds, are being consumed through allowances.
The money is being used, a good chunk of this money is being used to pay allowances for people that are attending the workshops. This is uncalled for. We need to control ourselves as a people. While we understand that workshops are inevitable, that we can't do away with workshops completely, we believe that we can substitute workshops with virtual meetings. For example, there are certain meetings that can be virtually online. The rate at which the money is being spent on workshops is a national source of concern. We are really concerned about that. We are worried that at this rate, look at the case where we have classes today, we have classrooms today where children are still sitting on the floor. We have schools where children, there's no sign of desks being procured, yet there was a directive by the Republican president that by the end of the year, no child should be sitting on the floor. How do we expect to change the situation when people are preoccupied with workshops? We think that's not uncalled for. In order to stop the vice, we advise the Ministry of Education to devise annual national action plans for particular years, so that even in workshops, these workshops are all coordinated, because as things stand, it's like people are doing it their own way, in a haphazard manner. And no wonder now most of the resources are being drained from our schools, the little resources that are meant for free education. We call upon the Office of the Auditor General to conduct forensic audits in government schools.
The The Copperbelt Energy Corporation, CEC, says it projects to have 100 megawatts of solar power being contributed to the national grid by the end of 2023. CEC board chairperson Landan Mwafulilwa tells Camnet News that currently the company is generating 34 megawatts from the Copperbelt University plant. Mr. Mwafulilwa says apart from the CBU solar plant, the company also has 2 more projects east of Ganaton and Itimpi, which are expected to produce a total of 65 megawatts of power by the end of the year. He says the company's target of 100 megawatts of solar energy to be contributed to the national grid is indicative of CEC's resolve to combat effects of climate change.
We moved from a 1 megawatt grid-connected plant to do another 33 megawatts. So now the total is 34 megawatts from that plant. So it's no longer a project. It's real, it's live, it's contributing to the energy generation or electricity generation in the country. The project that we have are 2 other projects. We call them Itimpi and east of Ganaton. Those are at implementation stage to produce a total of 65 megawatts of power by this year end. So total replica of what we've done in the Riverside project, but now we're doing it in Ganaton East and Itimpi. So by the year end, we should have 100 megawatts of solar power being contributed to the national grid.
Minister of Tourism Rodney Sekumba has announced government's plans to turn Chamber Bird Sanctuary into a zoo to service Copperbelt residents and beyond. The minister said government will ensure that wildlife species, including small grazers and big cats like lions, are stocked at Chamber to allow Copperbelt residents to start regular visits at the facility. Speaking when he graced the Zambia International Trade Fair Tourism Stakeholders Cocktail organized by the Zambia Tourism Agency, Mr. Sekumba said this will help actualize the quest to grow domestic tourism on the Copperbelt. The minister said government wants to empower the private sector by removing all bottlenecks that are hindering the growth of the sector players so that tourism can thrive and create employment opportunities for young people. And Copperbelt Minister Elisha Matambo said the province has changed from what people used to know as a place of violence to a place of law and order, ready for fresh development and investments. We take our second and final break. We have international sports news after the break.
On Monday, 3rd July 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guests, Mr. Brebda Changala, political activist.
We are not swimming ashore. If we are not careful, we might sink.
And Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
So it's a serious matter of worry.
As they discuss concerns of human rights in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RainGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. And now in international news, more than 828 million people faced hunger in 2021. And climate change is projected to place up to 80 million more people at risk of hunger by the middle of the century, creating a truly terrifying scale of desperation and need, the UN Human Rights Chief alerted on Monday, July 3rd. We monitored African news.
The impact of the climate crisis is threatening the right to food, the UN Human Rights Chief alerted on Monday. 828 million people faced hunger in 2021, and the crisis is projected to place up to 80 million more at risk by the middle of this century, Volker said during the 53rd session of the Human Rights Council.
Our topic this morning is the right to food, and clearly this is comprehensively threatened by climate change. Extreme weather events and both sudden and gradual disasters caused by climate change wipe out crops, herds, fisheries and entire ecosystems. Their repetition makes it impossible for communities to rebuild and support themselves.
In 2015, world leaders committed, among other things, to strengthening the global response to the threat of the climate crisis. However, financial pledges by developed nations have not been kept. In the fight to mitigate the consequences of the crisis, small polluters, which are least developed nations, suffer an additional penalty.
Often these are countries that benefited little from industrial development and contributed next to nothing to the industrial processes which are killing our environment and violating rights. If this is not a human rights issue, what is?
Speaking in Geneva, Volker called for an end to subsidies to the fossil fuel industry in order to deliver a livable future to the next generations.
South Africa could be nearing the end of daily power cuts, the country's electricity minister said on Sunday. With power cuts of up to almost 10 hours a day this year, businesses and households have been heavily impacted, with the economy already struggling under high interest rates and inflation. The load shedding, as the power cuts are known locally, is expected to reduce GDP by 2 percentage points this year. Minister Josientsho Ramokgopa said that South Africa was beginning to keep up with demand and that the country could soon have no blackouts for 24 hours. He declined to give a specific date. In recent weeks, the blackouts have eased, but with the 2 coldest months of the Southern Hemisphere's winter left, there are fears that higher heating demand could outstrip supply.
Amid legal proceedings and years of debate, Uganda is drilling oil wells and hopes to begin producing oil by 2025. Both Chinese and French companies are invested in the scheme, involving an over 1,400 kilometers heated oil pipeline to the Tanzanian coast.
2 projects will produce the crude oil. That's the Kingfisher project and the Tilenga project. So those 2 projects will produce oil, and this produced oil will be commercialized through 2 other projects. The East African crude oil pipeline that will run from here, Hoima, to Tanzania to export crude oil, and then the Uganda refinery project that will be used to process our crude oil into petroleum products for use.
There are, however, some concerns. 52-year-old Juliet Akumu got a house adjacent to the development area, but says she is now worried about environmental pollution from the oil field. The major problem we have experienced so far was a couple of days ago when there was a huge dust that originated from the construction site, and all of us were covered in that dust. Some oil wells are to be drilled within Uganda's Murchison Falls National Park. The pipeline will then pass through 7 forest reserves and 2 game parks running alongside Lake Victoria.
I believe a lot of the issues being raised by the activists are out of either misinformation or deliberate disinformation. Because as government and the project partners, we have taken deliberate steps to ensure that the oil and gas projects are developed sustainably. We've taken care of the environment and biodiversity concerns.
Uganda is estimated to have recoverable oil reserves of at least 1.4 billion barrels. Drilling began in January this year, and the project is expected to be completed within 2 years.
It's now time for sports news. In our sports news tonight, Chipolopolo assistant coach Moses Sichone has named a 23-member squad that has left for Durban this afternoon ahead of the 2023 COSAFA Championship that kicks off tomorrow in South Africa. SICHONE, who will lead the defending champions at the tournament's 26th edition, has named an array of top league performers and some rookies in the squad. Fresh from impressing in the AFCON qualifiers against Ivory Coast, goalie Lawrence Mulenga has also made the squad and will have to fight for the spot against Nchanga Rangers' Victor Chabo and Twiden's Francis Mwansa. Other notable youngsters summoned are Harry Milanzi Jr., Abraham Siankombo, John Chishimba, Albert Kangwanda and Gordon Mashata. The technical bench has also considered experience in defenders Aaron Katebe, Benedict Chapeshi, Kelvin Kapumbo, Kelvin Kampamba and Frederick Mulambia. Head coach Avram Grant would keep an eye on the proceedings as the COSAFA is also being used as a preparatory tournament for the July month and African Nations Championship CHAN qualifier. Zambia is in Group B and will open its account on July 6 against the Flames of Malawi before facing Comoros 3 days later. The final group match will be against Seychelles on July 11 at the Princess Stadium. To end Camnet Television News, top stories once again. CHAWAMA lawmaker complains over the untimely distribution of CDF as residents demand the construction of a mortuary. Harry Calabar raises concern over human rights violations. Motorists demand accountability on the utilization of toll fees. In international news, climate crisis threatens the right to food, observes the United Nations. And in sports news, Moses Sichone names final COSAFA squad. The Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Jeremiah 17, verse 9 to 10. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. Thank you for watching Camnet Television News. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.